Hello students, welcome to my biology class of class 9, and today I will start with the cell structure, that is the structural organization of a cell. Now cells, whether it belongs to plants or animal cells, it consists of three main regions. These are cell membrane, cytoplasm and nucleus. Now cell membrane, or it is also known as plasma membrane, it is an extremely thin outer boundary of cytoplasm. The main function of cell membrane or plasma membrane is to regulate the movement of molecules inside and outside of the cell. Second part of cell, that is cytoplasm. Now cytoplasm, it is a fluid jelly-like substance, is transparent, and often some granular structures are seen on it. And in cytoplasm, it contains all the cell organelles. We'll come to cell organelles later on. And the third main part is nucleus. Now nucleus, it is surrounded by its own double-walled nuclear membrane and always surrounded by cytoplasm. Cytoplasm and nucleus, it is together, is termed as protoplasm. That means cytoplasm along with nucleus together, it is known as protoplasm. Now in cytoplasm, as I told you, there various organelles are suspended on it. These organelles are nuclear membrane, nuclear septum, nucleolus and chromatin. Now what are cell organelles? The cytoplasm contains some important tiny structure, and these structures are known as cell organelles. These are associated with cellular function. The fluid that remains in the cell when all organelles are removed is referred to as cytosol. C-Y-T-O-S-O-L, cytosol. Now the structural organization of a cell is seen in the cells of an organism except those in bacteria and blue-green algae. In these organisms, the nuclear region is not well defined, as the nuclear membrane is absent. So in case of bacteria and blue-green algae, the nuclear membrane is absent. Now such an undefined nuclear region containing genetic material, what is that? DNA, is called a nucleoid. Now these organism, or the organism whose cell doesn't have a nuclear membrane, are called prokaryotic cell. Prokaryotic, pro means primitive, karyotic means nuclear. Okay, and these are termed as prokaryotic organisms, or simply prokaryotes. Again, at the same way, those cell possesses nuclear membrane are called eukaryotic organism, or simple eukaryotes. Clear? Now, prokaryotes also lack cell membrane bound cell organelles found in eukaryotes. So this is the basic difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So the cell organelles like mitochondria, Golgi bodies, endoplasmic reticulum are lacking in prokaryotes. Therefore, function of these organelles are performed by poorly organized parts of the cytoplasm in case of prokaryotes. Photosynthesis in photosynthetic bacteria is carried out by membranous bag-like vesicle associated with plasma membrane, because they don't have chloroplast. Okay, in prokaryotic cells, chloroplast is absent. The prokaryotes and eukaryotes also differ from each other in their genetic material. In eukaryotes, number of rod-like chromosomes are found, but in prokaryotes, a single chromosome is present, and this is represented by a single circular DNA molecule only. So you got various differences between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. You just write down what are the differences between prokaryotes and eukaryotes, or prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cells. Another major difference left, that is, prokaryotes and eukaryotes, their cell size also differs. They differ from each other. Cells in prokaryotes are generally smaller, okay, 1 to 10 micrometer in diameter, whereas in eukaryotes it is 5 to 100 micrometer. So these are the basic differences between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Now we'll see what is cell or plasma membrane. Now, cell membrane is the outer covering of each cell, forming a boundary of the cytoplasm. It consists of lipids and proteins. The cell membrane encloses the nucleus and cytoplasm of the cell. In plant cells, the plasma membrane is present between the cytoplasm and cell wall. Whereas in animal cells doesn't contain any cell wall. Okay. Now, whereas in animal cells, it forms the boundary of the cytoplasm. Since there is no cell wall, so the cell membrane or plasma membrane, it forms the boundary of the cytoplasm. Cell membrane or plasma membrane is a living, delicate, semi-permeable, okay, which is known as, also called as a selectively permeable membrane. Regulating the movement of the molecules inside and outside of the cell. Okay. Now, cell membrane, it allows the entry or exit of some molecule in and out of the cell. And since it is selectively permeable or semi-permeable, it also prevents the movement of some other molecules. Now then, how will define what is semi-permeable membrane or selectively permeable membrane? It is like that: a semi-permeable or selectively permeable membrane allows movement of solvent molecules but does not allow the movement of solid molecules. For example, plasma membrane of cells or the membranes of cell organelles, membranes of collodion, okay, or say copper ferrocyanide, these all are semi-permeable membrane. Next we'll see what are the functions of cell membrane or plasma membrane. The main functions of cell membrane or plasma membrane is that it acts as a mechanical barrier between the external and internal environment of the cell, and also it protects the inner cell contents. Cell membrane or plasma membrane also regulates the movement of molecules in and out of the cell. Now there are certain substances are there like carbon dioxide and oxygen. It moves across the cell membrane and that process is known as diffusion. I'll explain this part later on, what is diffusion and osmosis. Now, while others like water molecules move across by the process of osmosis. Next we'll come to next point, that is cell wall. I told you earlier that only plant cell contains cell wall. Animal cell doesn't have any cell wall. Now, cell wall is a rigid non-living boundary wall outside the cell membrane in plant cell. It is mainly made of a substance called cellulose. Cell wall is made up of cellulose. It is permeable to water, solute and gases. In most fungi, cell wall is made up of chitin. Next we'll see what is the function of cell wall. Cell wall provides rigidity, structural strength and definite shape to the cell. It helps in transport of various substances across it. So this goes about the cell membrane or plasma membrane and cell wall. Next is nucleus. Now for that what you'll do, you take a picture of cell or plant cell or animal cell or both, then it will be easier for you to understand better. Now you see in the diagram the nucleus, you'll find in each cell there is a prominent rounded structure is there. Okay, this rounded structure, it is termed as nucleus, and this nucleus was first discovered by English biologist in 1831 and his name is Robert Brown. Remember one thing, nucleus is the most important part of the cell because it exerting the controlling influence on all cell activities. The shape of the nucleus is either spherical or oval, and it is situated at the center of the cell. Okay, now nucleus is the control center of the cell. It is covered by an envelope, and inside it has a nucleolus and chromatin, which forms the chromosomes during cell division. Okay. Now on the chromosomes are lodged the genes which are responsible for the hereditary characters of an organism. Now the chromatin material mainly formed of DNA. What is DNA? Deoxyribonucleic acid. Genes are segments of DNA. Thus, DNA is responsible for storing and transmitting the hereditary information from one generation to the next generation. Nucleolus contains RNA, that is ribonucleic acid. RNA is required for protein synthesis in the cytoplasm. So nucleus contains, what are the components? What are the basic components of nucleus? It contains nuclear envelope or nuclear membrane. Then it contains nuclear sac or nucleoplasm. In between, a dark spot, small spot is there, that is nucleolus, and the thread-like structure, these are termed as chromatin material. Now, nuclear membrane. Nuclear membrane, like cell membrane or plasma membrane, it separates the nucleus from the cytoplasm. Nucleus is suspended in cytoplasm, so it separates nucleus from the cytoplasm. It is mainly made up of protein materials or lipid materials. Now, it is double layered membrane with a space between the outer and inner membrane. The membrane is perforated, means several small pores are there, by several nuclear pores, which allows exchange of materials between the nucleus and cytoplasm. The important exchange of important materials, it occurs through this nuclear membrane. Then it contains nuclear sac. Nuclear sac is the cytoplasm within nuclear membrane, in which chromatin and nucleoli are suspended. Nucleolus, okay, Nucleolus, nucleolus, or in plural we know this one as nucleoli. It is usually one spherical body called nucleolus is present inside the nucleus. Nucleolus doesn't contain any membrane. It is rich in protein and RNA. Okay, and is concerned with the formation of ribosomes and helps in protein synthesis. About chromatin material, I have already discussed at the beginning of this nucleus portion. So next we will discuss about what are chromosomes. Now, chromosomes are most significant component of the cell. They become visible only during the cell division. Okay. So when we will discuss about the cell division, that times we will study more about the chromosomes. These are long thread-like initially and becomes short and thick gradually. The size, shape and number of chromosomes is variable in different organisms. Chromosome number is not definite for all the organisms. The chromosome number is constant for a particular species, though it is different in different animals, but for particular species it is constant. And these are rich in nucleic acid, like it contains DNA and RNA along with proteins. Now one of the most important thing, genes. Now let's see what are genes. Genes are segment of very long DNA, that is deoxyribonucleic acid molecules. Genes are arranged in a single linear order along the chromosome. They are formed due to condensation of chromatin material at the time of cell division. Genes are responsible. These are responsible for cell division. Now, a gene is a functional unit of DNA chromosome which controls one or many functions of an organism. Sometimes a set of many genes may control a single function. At the end, what are the functions of nucleus? Nucleus is the chief controlling center of the cell. It contains chromosomes which carry the genes, and genes are responsible for transmission of hereditary characters from one generation to another. And also, nucleus controls the metabolic activities taking place in the cell. Next, we will go to cytoplasm. What is cytoplasm? Now, the part of protoplasm which remains after excluding nucleus. After excluding nucleus, whatever portion left, okay, is known as cytoplasm. It contains an aggregate molecules of various chemicals and cell organelles. Most of the biochemical reaction, such as protein synthesis, release of energy, etc., take place in cytoplasm or organelles present in the cytoplasm. Now we'll go to the next part of cell, that is cell organelles. Now in cell, already we have discussed that in cytoplasm, which is a jelly-like structure, contains various granules, and also in cytoplasm various cell organelles are suspended. But these cell organelles can be seen under electron microscope only. Now, name of the cell organelles already I told earlier. The first cell organelles will discuss, or I'll explain here, that is mitochondria. Now, mitochondria are rod-shaped cell organelles found in the cytoplasm. Each mitochondrion mitochondrion is singular. In plural, it is known as mitochondria. Is a double membrane bounded structure. The outermost membrane of mitochondrion is smooth, but the inner membrane of the mitochondrion is folded inwardly. You can see in the diagram, it is folded inwardly into the matrix of mitochondrions, like finger projection. The inward finger-like projections of inner membrane are called the cristae. C-R-I-S-T-A-E. These are greatly increase the surface area of the inner membrane. Mitochondria contains extranuclear DNA. Now, what are the functions of mitochondria? Mitochondria contains enzymes for cellular respiration. That is, due to cellular respiration of fluid, mainly glucose, energy is released stepwise. Hence, mitochondria is known as powerhouse or power plants of the cell. The stepwise release energy by oxidation of food is converted into unusable chemical energy in the form of ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate molecules. ATP is known as the energy currency of the cell, where energy is stored. The ATP molecules are released into the cytoplasm for providing energy for various vital functions. Next cell organelle is endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum is a network of membrane which run through the cytoplasm. Now, depending on the presence or absence of ribosomes on the surface of endoplasmic reticulum, they are of two types. Rough endoplasmic reticulum, when ribosomes are present, and it is termed as smooth endoplasmic reticulum when ribosomes are absent or without any ribosomes. The main function of endoplasmic reticulums are synthesis of protein, that is rough endoplasmic reticulum, because ribosomes, their function is to protein synthesis. So, the endoplasmic reticulum that contains ribosomes, it helps in protein synthesis. And the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it helps in the synthesis of lipids and their secretions. Secretion of enzymes and hormones inside the cell or when secreted out of the cell is another function of endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum also produces substances or substance for new cellular part, especially cell membrane. And endoplasmic reticulum provides internal support, that is mechanical support to the colloidal cytoplasmic matrix of the cell. Another function of endoplasmic reticulum, that is rough endoplasmic reticulum, that protein and lipids are synthesized in rough endoplasmic reticulum, are used for producing new cell membrane. During cell division, which is termed as membrane biogenesis, some other proteins and lipids functions as enzymes and hormones. Next we will go to next cell organism, that is Golgi Apparatus. Now, Golgi Apparatus is also known as Golgi body or Golgi complex. It consists of a set of smooth, flattened, membranous sac-like structure called cristae. These are placed one above the other, that is, these are placed in a stacked form in parallel rows. The Golgi apparatus is frequently surrounded by vesicles, which are discharged from the cristae. When present in plants in the form of subunits, Golgi apparatus is called dictyosome. Okay. Now next we will go to functions of Golgi apparatus. Golgi apparatus is the secretory organelle of the cell. It packages and dispatches the material synthesized in the cell to intracellular, that is plasma membrane and lysosomes, and extracellular targets. Golgi complex is also involved in the formation of lysosomes and peroxisomes. Peroxisomes. Golgi apparatus is also involved in the synthesis of many substances such as polysaccharides, then glycoproteins, etc. Before I go to next point, let us see what are lysosomes. We came to know lysosomes, so let us finish this one. What is lysosomes? Now, lysosomes are membrane-bound vesicle which contains powerful enzymes. These enzymes are capable of digesting or breaking down all organic material. The membrane that bound lysosomes does not allow the enclosed enzymes to pass freely into the cell cytoplasm. Thus, protects the cell from autolysis, that is self-dissolution or breakdown. They are absent in RBCs and a few plant cells. For example, in yeast, fungi and green algae, these lysosomes are absent. Then what are the functions of lysosome? Functions of lysosomes are extracellular digestion, that is, sometimes lysosome enzymes are released outside the cell to break down extracellular material. So they are known as digestive bags. Next function is digestion of foreign material. Lysosomes also destroy any foreign material inside the cell, such as bacteria. Last function here, third function, is cellular digestion. Lysosomes get ruptured and enzymes are released free in damaged cells, aging cells and dead cell. Okay, so lysosomes get ruptured and enzymes are released free in damaged cells, aging cells and dead cells for poorly working cell organelles to digest them. So they are also known as suicide bags. In this process, they remove the cell debris. Now, there is an important question comes often, that is, why lysosomes are often called suicide bags. Now, why lysosomes are called suicide bags? Because lysosomes contain about 40 hydrolytic enzymes. If somehow lysosome rupture, these enzymes will digest the entire content of the cell in which they are present. In this way, they kill that every cell in which they are present. Hence, lysosomes are called suicide bags. Now, next is ribosomes. Now, ribosomes are tiny membraneless organelles present in the cytoplasm of all protein synthesizing cells. Ribosomes are found attached to the surface of endoplasmic reticulum as well as free in cytoplasm. So that means what? They are either present in the endoplasmic reticulum or they are also present in free in cytoplasm. Now the ribosomes are rich in RNA and proteins. RNA is useful for protein synthesis. Main function of ribosomes are ribosomes are considered as the site of protein synthesis in the cell. Hence, both the bound, that means with endoplasmic reticulum, and in free ribosomes, and the free ribosomes are involved in this synthesis. After ribosomes, we'll see what is next cell organelle is, that is centrosomes and centriole. Centrosome is a small structure situated close to the nucleus in animal cells, and it is a somewhat clear area in which a pair of small granules called the centrioles can be seen. In plant cells, centrosome is absent and polar caps perform the function of centrosome. That means in plant cell, the polar caps perform the function of centrosome. During cell division, the centriole develops a number of radiating threads or rays. The whole structure, that is centriole and rays, is then called ester. The function of centrosome, it helps in the formation of spindle fiber during cell division. Centriole takes part in the formation of cilia and flagella. So these are the functions of centrosomes. After centrosome, the next cell organ is vacuoles. Now, vacuoles are generally fluid-filled cavities or sacs. SACS. Sacs present in the cytoplasm. The watery fluid of the vacuoles is called cell sap. Question comes, what do you mean by cell sap? So you have to answer like that. The watery fluid in the vacuoles is called cell sap. Vacuoles, it is surrounded by a single membrane called tonoplast. T-O-N-O-P-L-A-S-T. Tonoplast. In plant cell, number of vacuoles is more and size is bigger in comparison to animal cell. Again, in plant cells, the vacuoles contains dissolved food materials, waste products and pigments, whereas in animal cells, vacuoles contains engulfed solid or liquids. Now, the main functions of vacuoles, it helps to produce turgidity and rigidity of the cell. Vacuoles helps in the turgidity and rigidity of the cell. It also acts as a storehouse of pigments and water products, as well as useful minerals and salts. In unicellular organism like amoeba, the food particles captured by its pseudopodia. Pseudopodia means false feet. Okay, so the food particles captured by its pseudopodia are enclosed in a vacuole, which is called the food vacuole. So this goes about vacuoles. Now, whatever I will explain, that is, these are present in only in plant cells, like plastids. Okay. Now, plastids are found in plant cells only. Plastids are double membrane bounded structure. They do not have cristae, like mitochondria. The major plastids also have extranuclear DNA. Now, two types of plastids are there, leucoplastids and chromoplastids. Leucoplastids are colorless plastids and do not contain any pigment. And leucoplast function is that leucoplasts are involved in the formation and storage of starch and oil drops. For example, in amyloplasts found in potato tuber store starch. Chromoplasts. Now, chromoplasts are colored plastids. They may contain pigments of different colors. For example, blue-green chromoplasts found in blue-green algae. The most important chromoplasts are chloroplasts, which contains green pigment known as chlorophyll. Now, chloroplasts are very important. Can you tell me why? Because they trap solar energy and prepare food for all non-green organisms, directly or indirectly. That means they perform photosynthesis. They help in the process of photosynthesis. The chlorophyll plays